Okay.
We are
Are we
live.
on? Oh, good. So we're called to order, and let's start with public comments. Alex.
We've not received any form submissions, and our scheduled one had to poll. She had a conflict come up, so we will delay that till the next meeting probably.
All right. Do you want to talk briefly about who that is and generally what her interests are?
So I feel okay. So I don't want to speak too much for a citizen, but we have had some interest with the mountain bike community, kind of trying to figure out where else they can plug into the planning for Greenway side parks, trail alignments, things like that. It is timely because we do have the public input for the Greenway network plan upcoming, and I think that's a great place for people to make comments like that, what they'd like to see. So again, I can't speak too much. I don't want to speak too much and kind of take the wind out of somebody's sails, but there are some very interested people in mountain biking in this town, and they've got some good traction going right now. A little bit of a pun, I guess. Anyway, so more to come, and we're meeting with them separately. Leisure Services meeting with them separately with Sorba Athens soon, so that we can. I've got feedback from somebody, but we're meeting with them soon to kind of help get some ideas from them too. So I may be able to fill you guys in more after that conversation if there's something that impacts this group.
Okay, that would be a topic I'm sure we're all interested in various ways, so we can, but just look forward to getting into that more in the future. Let's see. Any other comments publicly from Alex that you've heard? In terms of the minutes from last time, I sent those out, the draft forms. I appreciate Diane, as usual, doing a good job. Ross did touch a couple of things. In fact, we renamed him Ross. Instead of Ross Hinkle, we had Ross Beechuk. So Mark, I don't know if Mark's on or not, but we've corrected that.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, Mark's on.
Yeah.
So Ross, we apologize for associating you too closely with Mark.
Well, that was an honor for briefing. I thought the minutes should be correct.
I guess some cutting and pasting got out of hand. Another thing you mentioned too was that at the Science and Policy Summit, we had two presentations. I did one on trends with the river corridors, and Karen did one on Tallahassee Forest and Nature Preserve. So I've changed the fourth bullet in the minutes to reflect that. Any other comments on the minutes? If not, would someone
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thanks. We'll adopt the minutes then. Let's see. There's a lot going on that relates to the Greenway. Probably the most important is that the RFP for construction management of the construction of the Greenway Trail through the cemetery is being reviewed by the mayor and commission, and for fulfillment to go into advertising the position as a construction manager in November, I believe. So things are starting to happen on the cemetery. And let's see. There's also a RFP for art on the Greenway that has gone forward. And this is for the Spillost 11 sections of the Greenway. And that is RFP. They're asking for submittals by the end of January, I believe. So things are happening there too. Let's see. Diane requested that we resubmit our letter of support for the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant for river launch site. And we can do that. We'll take the letter we wrote last year and send it back in to let them know we're interested and supportive of that launch site. Another thing that's going on right now is the North Downtown and Bethel Homes plan. And that includes the Pulaski Heights Connector Trail. And they are including it in their plans for that new redevelopment downtown. So that's a very positive thing. If you're interested in that, you can go to ND for North Downtown, NDAthensPlanning.com and see their preliminary drawings. I sent out a letter that was sent to the mayor and commission in support of the Carr Creek easement acquisition that we met on with our called meeting earlier this month. And so that has gone forward and will be on their agenda for November 3rd, I believe. So here's an important one. The executive committee is recommending 2 people for filling our vacancies that will be coming up starting January 1st. So myself and Derek Little will be rotating off the commission. And those biographies were attached. And that was for Carly Evans and for Charlie Barrow. And those are the recommendations from the executive committee to all of you folks. And I'd like to see if there are any comments or questions. If this is something we can vote on, and the next step will be to take it to the mayor and commission. Is anyone familiar or like to say anything about either Charlie or Carly?
Well, when we interviewed and talked with them, they were on our list and we really wanted to bring them in. So they're both excellent candidates. And I can make a motion to accept them if that's what we need to do.
That would be good.
I just wanted to clarify, is Charlie's last name Barrow?
Barrow.
You said Barrow. I think it's Barrow, isn't it?
Barrow, I think you're right. I mispronounced it.
Yeah, okay.
A name like mine, it's okay.
We have a lot of Barrow history in Athens.
Ah,
I don't think he's one of them, though. I think he's another
Okay.
another group. I don't think he's related, but maybe he is. He's not as. He didn't say he was. Let's put it that way. So I move that we accept these 2 nominees as new commission members. They have been interviewed. They have been accepted by the executive committee. So
this would be to carry this forward to the mayor and commission. Yes, thanks, Karen. Your second. Any other questions or comments? If not, all those, let's do it this way. Anyone opposed, please say aye. If there are none opposed, we'll accept that and move this forward to the mayor and commission. One thing we want to talk about a little later today with the report from Leisure Services is the update of the trail network materials that are in draft. And that's been before the planning committee. And we want to review that with everyone to make sure people are comfortable with it. This is looking at the Greenway Network Plan and looking at updates, especially in light of AIM, the Athens in Motion, is now a player that can take on some of the proposals that we had earlier. So let's see. Daniel and Alex will give a presentation on that a little later in our talk here today. I still have 2 tickets for the Georgia Trail Summits. These are worth $75. The Trust for Public Land will be holding this confab in Augusta coming up the 9th and 10th of November, but it will be a virtual presentation, so you don't have to be there in person. Scott has expressed an interest in that, and so we're going to make sure he can go, and Diane is also going. We have 2 more tickets available. Let me just see, is there anyone that would be interested on the 9th and 10th of November for half a day each, listening in on the talks? Well, let me just tell you, if you feel inspired, let me know.
Oh, now this is Jennifer. I would like one of them, but I could only attend on the 10th. So I didn't want to take an opportunity from anyone that could go both days.
Okay. We'll, unless I don't hear from anyone else, Jennifer, we'll go with your request. Okay. Let's see. Is Derek Little's not on today, is he? No. We'll have to get the budget request in, the budget report in later. Let's go with community reports, with committee reports rather, with communications and outreach. And Jake is not here, but he sent me a email, and he says that the second attempt was made for their second Saturday Greenway cleanup, but was foiled by rain again in October. So this month they are supporting the Rivers Alive program. And they'll try to do the cleanup time on the second Saturday in November. And then he has, since social media is our main outlet for outreach these days, Jake created a Google Calendar called a social media calendar, specifically for scheduling Facebook posts. And that is for events related to the Greenway for notification. Sustainability office, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Planning group, Susie.
Well, we have spent a good bit of time updating the network plan, and that's coming up later. So I'm going to shut my mouth and let the experts do it later.
Okay. Natural resources, Karen.
Alex, do you have some of my slides? Well, remember we talked about making a permanent record of Walt Cook's flag trails at Tallahassee. Here's Walt. He's got the map from March 2017, I think. That was provided by Todd and Andrew and Daniel, and those are the general lines. And next slide. Next one is, I don't know.
There we go.
Okay.
So I have added some context in case anyone does not have context what we're talking about. But we are on Tallahassee Road. Ernie Harris Lyons is right there, and this is the track that is Tallahassee Forest. And this is the upper portion, and then I have your 2 slides.
Okay. we accompanied Walt on 2 trips. The first one, well, I should talk about Ross and I and Lynn and Jennifer raised their hands and said we'd love to help with the mapping of Walt's trails. It's tough for Jennifer and Lynn to get out there. So I'll make sure that the next time Walt's going out on Friday of this week, we'll try for that, or we'll talk about some other time. Anyway, we started out at River Cliff, which is the subdivision adjacent to the upper part of Tallahassee Forest, Tallahassee Track. And the blue line is the first day that we walked with Walt. And Daniel came along with us. The blue line is from a Quartzard travel recorder that was on Ross's belt. And then he went out the next time Walt went out, and that's the yellow part. And I'm going to let Ross say something about the track, if his tracks, his trails, if he wants to.
Well, I'll just say that these will have to be more precise in the future, but thanks to Jennifer, we were able to get some relatively good data points. I think Daniel can bring out the more precise GPS unit and to put the trails on the map. But this gives you an idea. It looks like we're wandering through the woods, but I have to tell you, Walt's eye for trails is quite good, because they stay about 10% slope, and the grade stays very reasonable. So if you look at the yellow line, you'll see where we go around hilltops and across gullies and so forth. And since I was wearing it on my belt, it includes me wandering off, looking at certain plants and so forth. So there's more data points there than just specifically the trail. But that long loop is about I think it was about 9.7 kilometers that we went. And Walt and I walked it all.
Good. It's good. I can see you might have had a little beverages from the way that line kind of has a wobble to it. Then the next slide, Daniel was along on, see the red part, and so that's a much more accurate GPS, and the system that he's got a fabulous antenna with a Bluetooth that goes right to his laptop and feeds into the county software. The dark green is an initial plan that comes from the county, I believe. And Walt has been refining. That was a kind of a walk in the woods. And Walt then put in flags, and there's going to be more of the red, and that'll be a record of Walt's refinement. And I think it's worth having a record of that. It's got a lot of his interpretation, but I wouldn't want to lose it. So that's kind of what we're doing, and hope we can get Daniel out again with what I call the rod and the staff recorder. And so work in progress. Hopefully we'll find a time when Lynn and Jennifer can get out there.
Karen, I might say that the yellow trail, if you go out there, Daniel or others, the yellow trail is the blue and white flagging. So we checked flagging along that whole trail and actually put up additional flagging. So it's very easy to follow it now. You can find your way around quite well.
Right, and we're going to go out and put in connectors. What isn't shown here is the old farm road, and that's how people walk. At this time, they're going down an old farm road. The these lines are are trails off the road, and you know they're very creative, as Ross said, keeping with slope, going to overlooks, going to high points, points of interest. So we'll get some connectors in there and have a permanent record of Walt's gift to the county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So it's looking good. Lots of progress there. Let's see. Let's move on to staff reports and leisure services and get into more of the revisions of the trails. Alex and Daniel?
Daniel, you good on your end?
Yeah, if y'all could just mute if you're not speaking. I think there was some feedback earlier, so I might help with the presentation. All right. So, as previously mentioned, we have been working with the planning committee to do some revisions to the trail networks. What you're seeing here is kind of a complicated view of it. So let me start with something that's a little easier to look at. This is a map of our Greenway network plan based on networks. So the dark green is all of the Greenway network. The brown and purple are partnership and urban trails, which those are classified as essentially outside of the Greenway network, but still worth noting for connectivity and transportation purposes. You see the light blue is the river. I tried to make that a little more apparent, so it was very clear what we were trying to do with our trail networks. And then the orange is the Firefly, and the blue is the Athens Line Trail. So when you look at it from this scale, you can kind of see how the network splits off. When we look at it here, this shows just the changes that we've made. So the green lines and the brighter red lines, those are from the 2016 alignments. The blue lines are all from the 2018 discussions, which resulted in approved alignments, but we didn't run that through mayor and commission. We got pulled onto some different projects, and it just never came to fruition. The purple is the most recent additions. So you can see some of these are outside of the Greenway network, such as this airport loop. That is more there just, you know, that's not really something that you guys would have to fund or, you know, put your money behind. That's something that is coming up and other things. But as you can see, we removed some of the trails. We simplified it. We kind of broke it down into 4 different categories, and this will be presented to the public. Essentially, we have, for the updates, we rerouted some of the trails, we simplified some of the trail lines, we added in some trail lines, and then we removed some. So all of the red areas, you can see where we've removed that. Some of these, such as up here at Holland, you can see we rerouted this. So this is where it used to route through the park. We rerouted to really connect to the neighborhood. It's also kind of considered a simplification. Another example of a simplification is, you know, down in here on the middle of Oconee River, we were showing switchbacks going up and down and trying to go in at the parcel level to figure out exactly how we're going to get into that neighborhood. What we did was we just wanted to bring it along the river to show what the intention is to get along the river. And if it needs to come up to the street, that can be, excuse me, that can be explored at the time of funding. But we really wanted to just kind of simplify it down, make it easier to understand. Another example of that is actually through Beach Haven. We originally we had these symbols showing that connectivity would be based on the master plan. At this point, we kind of felt like that was just confusing to add extra symbols into it. And so we went with the sewer line access, which is the most obvious choice for where that trail would go, and create the lowest amount of impact there. We do have phrasing in the master plan that states that the master plan of the particular site overrides the Greenway network plan. So an example of that would be in our 2016 Greenway network plan, we showed this trail going along the road. And then shortly afterwards, we did the Memorial Park master plan, where we were able to look in more detail and note that we could actually bring the trail down into the woods a little bit, where there was kind of a historic roadbed, and that would be it would be a nicer experience for people where you're not just walking along the road. So we kind of ran through all of these options with the planning committee, and our next steps are to create this story map that tells the whole story. All of you will get to see that once we're putting that out on the 2nd of November. Our next steps are to go to the public and get input on all of these alignments and changes. And but for now, the planning committee has approved kind of what we've done. And yeah, Alex, do you have anything to add before we go into questions?
So yeah, I'm going to share with you guys some key dates that we've identified for the public input. So this is your chance to kind of see what's happening. But again, knowing that we're going into a public input session for people to look at. Daniel's building a really great tool for the public input where people will go through a presentation and then at the end of it be able to actually attach a comment to a called out piece of trail. So if somebody has a comment about a Tallahassee piece, they can click on that and make that comment there, compared to just saying, hey, I think this trail should move. Well, which trail are you talking about? So I think it'll be really cool for us to be able to collate that data and know exactly what people are talking about, because with public input on something on this scale, countywide scale, sometimes it's hard if people don't give you driven in details. So I'll share with you guys the dates in a second. They're in part of my presentation. And Daniel's done a great job with this. I really like all of his effort to get this brought into the future. It's going online. It's going to a point where, we're only going to get, and we've talked about this in the committee meetings, but what we're going to be doing is mainly creating the 4-quadrant maps, the maps that are on our website and in your book that are 1/4 of the county. Those are the main things that we're going to produce, in addition to a view similar to what Daniel just showed us, where it's this, so the quadrant maps will still be produced, but we're not going to get into the level of producing all those 11 by 17s that make up the rest of the notebook. That is what takes a lot of staff time to, make sure all your cut points, all the the inset maps, all this other stuff, just kind of cutting that out is going to really make it a faster turnaround. So anyway, I'm really excited about making it into more of a storybook, looking thing.
These guys have really done a superb job. Thanks so much, Daniel. We've been thinking it was time to do it and waiting for it, and you've done it, and it's terrific. Thanks. I think you're on the right track to do it a little simpler. The book is complicated, but thank you so much, both of you, Alex and Daniel.
All right, that's all Daniel. It is all Daniel. So the only other thing I will mention, we've talked about this in committee, and I don't know if we need to formally vote on this or anything, but Daniel alluded to it. Right now, the Greenway Network Plan is written into so many things as the Bible of multi-use trail. It's mentioned in a lot of other places in the county. Eventually, we'd like to get to a point where there is. Eventually, we want to get to a point where there's the Athens in Motion plan, there's the Greenway network plan that touches those green lines, and then there is the Athens-Clarke County master plan for multi-use path. A way that we could do that is next year is when Athens in Motion will be up for their revisions and readdressing. Sorry, 2 years is when they'll be up for doing their work. So coordinating and kind of understanding that if we're going to do something like that, and we don't want to have a year where there's a trail that was on a plan, went missing for a year, and then came back, if we can coordinate that revision to align with their revisions, I think that'd be smart, because then, you know what I mean, we have consistency of the trails being somewhere. So that's the one thing I'll add to that.
Yeah, the only thing that I'll add in addition to that is that currently the Athens in Motion plan is for all bike and pedestrian infrastructure within the right-of-way. So there are urban trails that fall outside of the right-of-way, which aren't covered by them specifically. So that's kind of where this gap is, where you've got the Greenway network plan, which covers multi-use paths like in the rivers, in the tributaries. And then you've got Athens in Motion, which covers the corridors of transportation for pedestrians and bicycles. But then there's this gap of how do you connect the two? And so it's something that'll need to be explored between, you know, probably at a county level outside of our departments, but bringing everyone to the table.
I'm thinking that it's good for everyone to know about this. I don't know that we need to have a motion to adopt this, because it's still going to be open to comment by the public and by us as well. So we're not being asked by Leisure Services to nail this down right now, but to make sure that we feel like this has been addressed sufficiently to go to the public for their comment. Does that sound right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Or do you guys
guess,
have any questions before the public sees it? That's the other thing.
Could this be up for a few days so people could have a chance to look at it in more detail?
What people are we talking? Are we talking about this group?
This group, yeah, members of the commission.
In what, like the web map?
Yes, I guess with the web map.
Like private link.
See, I'm actively working on some of the maps and story maps and stuff, so I can't really make anything custom right now, but most of what I have is in Arc Pro, which is a program that y'all wouldn't have access to. But let me double check something. If you click on explore the interactive map on our webpage, that brings up kind of what's currently publicly available, which includes a number of these alterations and changes. Not all of them, though.
Mm-hmm. I tell you what, let's unless someone has an objection, let's go with what the planning committee has come up with in working with you guys, and assume that that's okay with everyone, that we endorse releasing that to the public for public comment. Now, we're not approving the trail by trail specifically, but we're saying this is at a point that it can be addressed by the public.
Yeah, and if anybody has any specific questions, like I can do a share screen. That'll be the easiest way, honestly. So if you aren't a part of the planning committee and you would like to see more information, reach out to me via email, and we can set up a time where we could go through and we could look at some things in detail.
I think, Carol, to address your question, it's really those gaps. It's the gap in between the Athens in Motion right-of-way trails and the Greenway network 100-year flood trail and those connectors. So that the loop around the airport, you know, what these guys are saying, because we're realizing that the Greenway network plan has grown and grown and grown and been added to, but we probably as a department, as multiple departments, need to be adopting more ownership of these trails outside of those two plans.
Yeah, and to show you more specifically, something like the Cleveland Road multi-use trail that we showed in the Greenway network plan, that actually, I think, is within the Athens in Motion. I'm not sure that entire segment is a separated facility. So all of the blue lines on here, which are considered partnership networks, most of those are Athens in Motion except for the airport loop. And so if you look at like Millage Extension comes into the end of Macon Highway, and Athens in Motion is showing a separated facility along Macon Highway. So what we were able to do is we removed that from our network, and then we're showing the Athens in Motion alignment within our plan. But something like the Normaltown connector, which isn't really traditional Greenway according to our definition, you know, being along riparian corridors. So, but that being said, the connectivity through Normaltown and connecting the two rivers together is still an important thing. And so all of the brown areas are what are considered urban trails. And then they even get down into like on Oglethorpe, Athens in Motion goes up to Hawthorne Avenue, and then there's nothing on Oglethorpe up to Prince, but we've identified an important connection between those. So we're showing that as an urban trail, even though it's not adopted as part of the Athens in Motion. And then whenever those plans are updated, whether it's Athens in Motion plan being updated or the Greenway plan, we'll always work together with the other department to ensure that we've got coverage and updated lines.
Okay. Any questions or comments or concerns?
I just want to thank Daniel and Alex. I mean, that Oglethorpe, I didn't even realize that wasn't on the Athens in Motion because it's so hard to read. We have like 220 projects. I just assumed that was in there somewhere. So I'm a little surprised it wasn't. So thank you for catching that.
Yeah, it's all Daniel.
Any other comments or concerns? If not, we will look forward to the version of this that's going to the public based on the conversations we've already had. And we will get more involved in the details at that time.
All right, so for the rest of our staff update, there's some things that you may want to watch tonight at tonight's meeting. Clarke Creek Tract is getting some conversation happening tonight. It's in the listed in new business. And then there's a special called session tonight also. And that special called session is going to talk a little bit about the bridge over Trail Creek. So you may see both of those things. And what we've learned is that when you have a bridge that's using wood timber and then you hit a market condition where pressure treated lumber is through the roof, all of a sudden your entire project is through the roof. So yeah, so there's going to be a discussion tonight. We did get bids. We've received bids for the bridge over Trail Creek, replacing the Murmur trestle. And I'll show you guys the design in a second again, but the proposal is to work with the person who is the lowest bidder, even though it's outside of the project affordability. and to select that vendor and then work with that one vendor. Anyway, there may be more discussion tonight. Derek's going to be leading that. If I can advance, there we go. So here at the first point from that previous slide was the Carr Creek area. So we've got, this is just the agenda attachment from a long time ago, but one I reference a lot because it does break down our SPLOST sub-project lines. And you can see, so we did the Bailey and the carriage, that's the pink. And so it would be catching back in right there, following along, and then popping up, and that's through the Cartwright property. So that's something that sustainability worked on. And just to remind you guys, this is the map that you guys have already talked about. But that trail would come technically through here, stay down in the river corridor, and then I think it was about 10 acres. I think that's about right. Would be this light green would be the Greenway zone with the possible improvements that could happen up here, like a parking lot for trail users. This zone is the one that would be taken into green space. So it would be preserved indefinitely with green space protections. And then this zone would be initially owned by public utilities. It includes the easement that is the power line. And then it's being proposed as an economic zone, but it would really be for them to kind of figure out where they'd like to go with that. So that's what's being discussed, is if the proposal to split the cost between the three pots of money will be accepted by mayor and commission. Okay, and then this is to remind you guys, so here's what the approved bridge looks like over Trail Creek within Dudley Park. The wood is all right here. So again, there's some things that we're gonna have to be talking about. Mainly finishing, I think might be a big price tag. So there's going to be a lot of things that have to get discussed to see if the project can fall within the approved budget. Otherwise, there'll be other projects or miles of trail or all kinds of other things that could potentially be impacted by that. So in Dudley Park, part of the Firefly, again, I feel like I'm updating you guys on that kind of stuff. We've issued a PO. I've brought this up a couple times. What I consider the interchange of Firefly to the Greenway Trail system is right there at the racetrack gas station across from the Waffle House. That area was redone by a subcontractor that didn't work for us, and they left some deficiencies. We've cut the PO, so there should be some work happening in that area soon once the fixtures show up that had a long lead time. So the bollards will be put in correctly to meet our standards. The trash can will be reinstalled. The signage will be reinstalled, all to meet our standards. If you get through there right now and you're used to being on our trails elsewhere, you'll realize that there's some wonky things. But along with that, the contractor will also be installing a sign that when you are going onto the Firefly Trail will be the Firefly Trail map. But when you're on the Firefly Trail coming up to Old Winterville Road, there will be a decal that reads to Greenway Trail and kind of shoots people down and across the road to the Waffle House to kind of help people make that connection. A precursor to wayfinding. Oconee Hill Cemetery, you guys heard Nat beat me to it a little bit, but things are happening. So that's really good. They're working through some stuff. Still very, I don't know, third floor of City Hall conversations happening. But anyway, some motions happening there, which is awesome. Dudley Park improvements. Again, this is all what we're using as contingency for our Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program grant that we are in the middle of working on. These are the improvements made that will be made, and including a stage pad, a restroom building, and a pavilion. And that restroom building looks like that. I'm not sure if it's tonight, but we did go through the art selection for this project. The committee was able to work on selecting art. I can't let the cat out of the bag or anything, but art was sought, proposals were sought, and artists were asked to use this side of the building and this side of the building. or not use the building at all. So you guys will see whenever that becomes public knowledge, hopefully a pretty cool art feature right there in a central part of Dudley Park. So again, we've just stepped through the actual updates to the network plan. This is our there's still, we're waiting for a little bit of approval for use of some facilities. We're doing the best we can to meet public input needs, but also we're in a COVID world. So understanding that, we're looking to open up public input maybe around the second online, just kind of a passive experience. We do an online session, a meeting similar to this, at noon on November 10th, a second online session late, 6 p.m. on the 12th. So again, we typically do public input once during the day, lunch hour time, once at night. For both of those online, between me and Daniel, we were also hoping Susie and Nat could join us as co-presenters and ask any questions, give any insights. That'd be ideal. We don't need a whole bunch of presenters, but it does help to have you guys there to kind of explain if anybody has any weird questions. And then possibly holding an in-person. We're going to hold an in-person. The goal, and we're asking to see if it's available, but the goal is to have that on Saturday the 14th from 9 to 1. It's a longer window, but it's because it's our only in-person. And we're talking about it at the Bishop Park covered tennis court. It's kind of where the Athens Farmers Market uses. It's kind of central. It's outdoor, so that, the air is moving. We would require masks. So that's, we did a input session in person for the Winterville, in Winterville at Pittard Park under their pavilion for Firefly 3. And it was okay. I am pretty cautious around all this stuff. And I felt good. I felt good with how it was all set up. And then we would leave the online form submittal live until the 20th. And these in-person ones, we also have a paper form that people fill out, and then we enter it into the same survey. So we'll end up with all these responses to then look over and talk about with the planning committee and this group if needed. So again, yes, sir.
Quick update regarding that. Farmers Market is actually still going on at that time.
Okay.
So we are working with them to actually set up a booth at the farmers market. We would be out in the open air, and we're still seeing how much space or where exactly we could be. So that's just the one and only in-person one that we're working with right now. Kathy has all the updates.
Fantastic. Alex, you're muted. I see you talking, but I don't.
If members of the Greenway Commission would like to participate online in that November the 12th session, could somebody send us instructions how to get into that online session?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So we'll be sending this out. We'll probably send it to the whole ORGC listserv with all the ways to join. The format will look it'll be still through WebEx, but it'll look a little different than this. But yes, we'll send out that information to you guys on the listserv, through the listserv.
Thank you.
Okay. We're also going to be running all this input through the Leisure Listens webpage. So again, I'll remind you guys, Leisure Listens is where we're doing all of our project updates and getting public input and putting public presentations up on. From your part of the website, the accgov.com/orgc, we will link to it. There will be a button to click, but it will be housed in this Leisure Listen. So if anybody asks you, you could just send them to the ORGC page and then they click the link, or you could just tell them about the Leisure Listens page and they'll get it either way. I'll also update you guys on Firefly. Firefly Subproject 2, which is picking up from the racetrack gas station and gets us out to Hancock Road is all blitzed. They've gone through with a masticator. They've taken it down to grade. If you drive by there, you will see where the trail is going to be. There's orange tree protection fence up, and they're in there working. This project does couple putting in some of the purple pipe. So you will see there's, operation looks a little different just because they're having to dig into the ground first before they put the trail on it. But it's going on, it's happening. There's been meetings that Todd's going to check in on their progress. It's pretty crazy. I drove through there today and just being able to see that much. Now, it is a closed site. There were some people riding bikes through the fence, through a middle of the construction zone. So please, please, please do not cross the orange fence. But if you go to the racetrack gas station, you can actually walk up their connector trail, which is already done, to the edge of where the orange fence is, and look right, and you can see a long ways down. It's pretty neat. Also mentioned, so Winterville, we had our formal, it was an invitation only opening on Friday. We did invite only just because of social distancing, and we would look terrible if we were inviting more than 50 people to be at the same place at the same time because of the governor's rules. So we would just be, anyway. So an invitation only was sent out. We had a nice ribbon cutting. You guys can see Mayor Kelly Gertz on the right and Mayor Dodd in the middle. I'm not exactly sure who's on the left. And you can see Mayor Dodd found these awesome tandem bicycles that were from the Marigold Festival in like '76. And so there was a little bit of fun had by some. That you may see some photos of them riding them. It was kind of cool. And then there you go. So the trail is open. We've got our sign put in and showing the trail within Winterville City proper. So you guys are welcome to go and jump on it, check it out. The signage is in and it's open for business.
Right.
Rivers Alive, I think it's the biggest. In November is our public input on Greenway Network Plan, but Rivers Alive, if you want to participate, you have to register. We are not doing any drop-ins. So just please remember that. So with that, I'm going to close my sharing, and that does it for leisure.
Okay. Any questions, any comments? Okay.
So
Let's jump
exciting.
ahead.
So much good stuff. So exciting.
Yes, there's a lot going on.
I'm telling you.
How about Athens in Motion? Carol, you want to add anything? You're muted, by the way.
Here, yeah. Athens in Motion. What do we got going on? I think tonight on the agenda setting meeting is the design for Jefferson River Road. We had suggested a multi-use trail there, and we'll see how that goes. We'll also be discussing a sidewalk or multi-use trail on Riverbend Road at our meeting next week, I believe. We have 3 committees. One is working on a revised complete streets policy, which is just a more thorough way of implementing policy that prioritizes, actually that makes our priority not on cars and roads, but on cars and pedestrians and cyclists and people in wheelchairs and all users, and to sort of follow National Complete Streets Coalition standards on that. I did notice, I'm looking forward to hearing from our grants committee, seems to be busy working on some small grants for signage for citizens and kids and safety from home to school, and to multi-use trail. And we just had a meeting today with our education committee with leisure services and some people from Bike Athens and a lot of people about starting work on an open streets event, which I think would be a wonderful socially distant open streets event that we're kind of working on for next spring. So those are things that are going on there. And I just want to say thank you again in any public place for the Firefly out in Winterville is excellent. I just came back. I rode on it for a tiny bit on my ride today. It is full of people all the time. It's and the Greenway again. Anytime I'm on it, it's just full of people. So thank you all for all that work.
If there's anything that you think we might be able to do to be supportive of those grants, for instance, we write a letter. We write a lot of letters of support. So
Okay.
if we can help in that way, let us know.
Yeah, I'm writing some notes, so I'll report that to them. Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Mike Morton isn't with us, so no one from sustainability. How about Mark Beechuk?
Yes, hello everyone. Just a few quick items that are going on in the planning world. We did get 2 projects in from Leisure Services, one for some grading work out at Sandy Creek Park and one for some improvements at Ben Burton. So those are in our development review process and should be going through pretty quickly. A lot of their projects make it through right away. We've got a big agenda for the November Planning Commission meeting, and we've actually split it into 2 separate meetings. So we'll be meeting on our regular day, which is November 5th, and then we will have a second meeting on the 9th. The first meeting will have items that have come before the commission before and are coming back for either edits or master plan development. And then the second one will be for new business. On the new business agenda, the 9th, we have the general time project coming back in, which you all might be familiar with a little bit. This is the large complex across the street from Terrapin. In fact, Terrapin has some packaging space in the new complex along with Wayfair, the online furniture company. Last time it came through, it had a big amphitheater, 2,000 to 3,000 seats, I want to say. It was an indoor-outdoor sort of thing. They've taken that away, but they've kept most of the other elements. So we're looking at retail, residential, office, industrial, those types of uses. And I bring this to your guys' attention because there's a connection to the other side of the nature center property where there's connection to the Greenway. So I don't know if folks want to take a look at this. It's coming through for its preliminary plan development hearing, so it'll come back at least one more time to the Planning Commission before it goes to the Mayor and Commission. But this would be a project with a lot of new life into that area of town. And so it might be worth a letter of support from you all if that would be of interest to the Greenway Commission. Outside of that, we've got a few other projects that are just kind of coming back in that are multifamily and not too far away from the Greenway, but not directly connected like the general time project. So that's about all we've got going on. If you got any other questions or if you hear of any other projects and kind of want to know about any connections, I'd be happy to try and answer that. Or if you have any questions about general time.
Okay. And what's the time frame for, oh, you said November the 9th for general time.
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
preliminary plan development right now, so it would need a master plan development hearing before the Planning Commission in December would be the first opportunity, and then would go on to the Mayor and Commission after that. So yeah, a couple months.
Okay. Let's see. Diane, anything from you on?
Yes, I wanted to start off by thanking the Paulo again that and presentation 20 on its own. Protocol for chemical and biological sampling. Alex said, I'll just on October. Thank, President, let you know that the check has been received. A little bit more. On October. Well, long. Did you miss?
And I'm afraid you're breaking up. It's really getting hard to cipher. You're talking about the upcoming letter of support for the launch.
Yes, I appreciate the letter of support, and I know I break up out here in the countries. This will all.
You're clear now.
Oh, I'm clear now. Now that's crazy.
Much better.
Lost you again.
Okay.
Well, we're going to move along. Let's see, Scott, have you got anything from Bike Athens?
Just that we had talked a little bit about we're ramping up some video production of educational materials that we talked a little bit about in the subcommittee meeting, and there was interest in us doing a video of how to fix your flat using one of the repair stations out on the Greenway. So that's getting on our calendar that we will get in production, and then we'll be able to share with you all. That's it.
Sounds good. Let's see. About all we've got. Rivers Alive, as Diane was saying, is coming up on October 21st, although they're already, their dance card is full. Georgia Trail Summit, again, is that virtual conference, November 9th through 10th. They have excellent speakers, so I'd really encourage you to join Jennifer and Scott and Diane. We have one more ticket available if anyone would like to have it. Just let me know. First come, first serve. Let's see. Any other questions or comments before we adjourn?
Was this the appropriate place to talk about the two fix-it stations that we kind of emailed around? The two new ones you guys were interested in supporting?
Yeah.
So, okay, sorry, unless somebody's got to run. So the two places we've identified as staff for two fix-it stations, which is what I hear this group would be interested in supporting. One would be at College at the parking across from the water fountain. So, as you start that trail right there on the right. And then the other one we'd like to see, I think it would get the most use and be the most helpful, is right at the four-way stop when you come down the crazy hill and you get to the crossing of the trail within the river corridor, and also the East Campus Bridge ramp stops there. So you've got this intersection, 4 places to go, plus your bike just broke as you were coming down that crazy grade, or you're trying to climb that crazy grade and your bike breaks. There was a station down there. So so we think that those two spots would be the best. But we're ballparking right now that it'd be $3,000 per unit with concrete with plaque is what we're ballparking right now. I haven't gotten any firm prices yet because there's some back ordering going on from what I'm hearing. But anyway, so that is what I'd like to bring to you guys. If you'd like to support two, those are the two places we're thinking. And if you only want to support one, I think the college would be the priority. College parking lot would be the priority.
Yeah, unfortunately, our Derek hasn't been with us.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure where we are financially, but I think that's a worthwhile thing. Anybody have any comments on that?
Oh, I absolutely think we need to do at least one of them. I think both of them really deserve to be done. I know my husband broke down at both places, so I'm all in there.
All
We got
right.
Susie's approval. I love it.
Yeah.
Well,
And,
go ahead, Alex.
and I will say, I've been talking to Randy Smith at the Nature Center, and so these would also be in concert with a third one down at the Nature Center. So all of a sudden, we would go from having like 0 to having 3, but I think very strategically placed, and I think that'd be great.
The only question I would have, again, in addition to where we are financially, but I suspect we will be able to support this. But for the one on the East Campus connector, is that cleared with the university? Is that an issue at all?
With your support, I'd go to them and ask that. I think Laura's still with us too. But anyway, we would look within that tight little circle and see what we could do. But yeah, I would not go to them before I knew that you guys supported it. So.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? If not, really appreciate your time. Thanks, everybody. And we're adjourned.